Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing. It's a new week, it's a new season, it's the same old Sambo, it's the same old Ray Formula Ford 1600 at Rudskogen for the first week of what should be a fantastic season. We've got 4 new tracks, and to go with that, we're going to have 4 absolutely brand new track guides that I've never done before, so it should be a lot of fun. However, just before we jump in the cockpit to start the guide lap, up on the screen here, Broken Wing Race League. It's a little league that I take part in. It's multi-class, it's 45-minute races, and it's the Ford and the V. It's a great bunch of guys. It's really well run, it's a lot of fun, and there's a huge mixture of abilities. Come on down, join the Discord. You'll find the link in the description to this video. Come join us, come race with us. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get in the cockpit and do the lap. Righty-ho. Let's start this guide lap then. Over on the right hand side, up to 4th gear, looking for the 100-meter marker. Now just after we've gone past it, we're going to brake quite hard in a straight line as we always do. As we want to start turning towards the apex, we're going to trail off the brake, putting on a little bit of blip as we drop it down into 3rd gear. Obviously we're using a button clutch, also blip will slow you down. Big blip of throttle. Get back towards the 2nd apex for turn 2, and as we hit it, we're going to drop it down into 2nd gear. We're going to feel with the throttle to turn the corner. So obviously in these cars, I'm sure you guys are aware of it, but anyone that's new to the channel and isn't, we turn the car with the throttle. When we lift off the throttle, we get more rotation of the rear. We get to point in the direction that we want. When we want to straighten it up, when we want to go straight and reduce that rotation, we get back on the throttle. So we are using the throttle to steer. So we're just feeling for the grip, and now I'm fully back on the throttle, nice and early, halfway around the 2nd apex. I'm going to hold that full throttle in 2nd gear. I hold the line over to the right. I know a lot of people go over to the left. I can't make that go faster for me. Up to 3rd, up to 4th. When we get to the 150 marker, that's when I'm going to start turning, and I'm going to start turning and pointing for the apex at that point, okay? 150 meter marker, start turning, still on 100% throttle. Get to the 100 meter marker, and I'm going to come off the throttle briefly, and I'm going to hit the brakes a little bit, up to about 55%. And I'm now just trying to maintain going in a straight line, so a little bit of left hand down. Trying to aim for the throttle, aim for the apex, sorry. Coming off the brake fully at this point. Dropping it down to 3rd gear mid-corner here after the apex. So if you see, I do blip my throttle to be able to drop it down without locking up the rears. And now what I'm aiming to do is I want to get over to the right-hand side. I want to get over the rumble strip, hit the apex, and at that point I'm going to drop it down into 2nd gear, and I'm going to start building back up on the throttle. So as I leave the rumble strip, I'm fully back on the throttle, keeping it floored up to 3rd. Little lift for the S, first S. Little lift again for the 2nd. And just before we get to this line, I'm going to do a little dab of the brakes very briefly, up to about 60%. And I'm going to drop it down into 2nd gear. I'm going to try and cut this corner as best as possible. As long as your right-hand tyres are over the asphalt, you're not going to get an off track there. And this is a painful one because it always gives you a slowdown. And again, same as in turn 1 and turn 2, I'm just feeling with the throttle for the grip, turning the car around this corner with the throttle. And now I'm fully back on 100% throttle, nice and early. Up to 3rd gear. Now, next braking marker. So it's between the 100 meter board and the 50 meter board on the right hand side. I don't know if you can see that marshal there. I call him Clive. When I get to Clive, I'm going to hit the brakes. I'm going to hit them really quite hard. The way that the track is going down, it means that all the weight is loaded up. So you're going to have lots and lots of braking power without actually locking up the brakes. So I'm going to brake really hard, up to about 93%, so it feels like I'm putting all my weight onto the pedal there. And I'm going to drop it down to 2nd gear. I'm going to trail it off to the apex, and as I get to the apex, I'm going to give it a blip of throttle, and I'm going to change it down into 1st gear. And now I'm going to give it full beans as I come off the apex. A little bit of oversteer, so just correct that. Now, same as in the V, I'm aiming for the worth sign there or thereabouts. I'm not going to go quite as off track as I would in the V. I'm going to leave it in second, rev it out. As I get over the rumble strip, I'm going to give it a quick blip again of brake, up to about 50% briefly, trail that off, keeping it in second gear, turning, getting right onto the rumble strip, and just building back up on the throttle. So as I come off the apex, up to third gear, little lift to go through this corner. And then as we're mid-track, before we go into turn 14, I'm going to brake briefly up to about 2/3. I'm going to feel with the throttle for the grip and giving it a big blip. I'm going to drop it down to second gear. And I'm going to slowly come away from the apex so that I can then turn the car and get back on the throttle nice and early for the second part of turn 14 for the final run to the line. So midway through the corner, fully back on the throttle, second gear, wait for the blue light, change it up to third, and then back up to fourth, over the line for a 27.414. Then practice your defensive driving so you can shoot at people, and then back on the throttle and get away from there. Wonderful. Now let's do it full speed from the chase cam. Right, full speed run through time. So over onto the right hand side, 100-meter marker, brake hard, trail it off, down to third, down to second, back on the throttle, let it slide, up to third, up to fourth, looking for the 150-meter marker to start our turn. 100 meters we brake, feeling with the throttle, down to third, down to second at the apex, back on the throttle, up to third, little lift again, sharp brake, down to second, feeling for the grip with your throttle, back on the throttle nice and early, up to third, look for Clive, brake hard, trail it off, down to second, down to first, a little bit of oversteer correction, over to the right hand side, keeping it in second, revving it out as you get to the rumble strip brake, back on the throttle, up to third, little lift, little brake, down to second, get on the throttle nice and early again, and there we are. Over and across the line. One final run through at full speed from the cockpit with the driving line. Okay, final run through. This time I'll shut up a bit and you can listen to the tyres. Thanks once again for continuing to support the channel. It does mean a great deal to me. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Happy racing. Enjoy the new season.